Welcome back to the Fly Oz Backcountry Flying Series, where we go way more in depth than you probably wanted on a number of backcountry flying topics. This week, we'll be flying Cessna's middleweight champ, the 182, as we focus on a number of nosewheel specific operating techniques. As always, this is Lucas, and one of my favorite things about flying in the Ozarks is the large number of strips that are accessible not just to jacked up little bush planes, but also to the most common workhorses in general aviation. In fact, since our highest density altitude never gets much above 5,500 feet or so, almost all of our primary destinations for camping, biking, floating, hunting, and fishing are totally accessible by 172 or 182. So let's take our good old 182 out to one of our favorite training and camping destinations, Sugar Creek Airstrip, for some nosewheel specific practice. First, a hard rule and a strong recommendation. The first and most critical principle of operating nosewheels in the backcountry is to protect the nose. It's not that most nose draggers aren't built strong. The issue is that by nature of their stance, they will always have somewhat limited propeller clearance when the aircraft is slow or unmoving. Additionally, the nosewheel is usually connected to the firewall, which can give them a bit of a glass chin, so to speak. Our other new challenge is not exclusively a nosewheel problem, but they usually come together. We have to learn to deal with the slow extension and retraction of the electric flaps. This improvement makes it difficult to utilize some of the flap in and out techniques that we've been learning so far for takeoff and landing. I've found that my landings get worse and my roll longer when I try to time the electric flaps and dump them in the air. I found that almost all pilots will unintentionally add some speed to the approach to compensate for the flap retraction that they know in their subconscious is happening as they try to flare. My recommendation is to leave them be or retract them as soon as the mains touch. Now let's start with a maximum performance takeoff out of Sugar Creek. I can't use the whole runway here because of a mud hole at the end, but I'll still utilize a rolling start to keep as much momentum as I can. Fun fact, in a lot of nosewheels it's actually best to go left on this turn, opposite of our tail draggers, the reason being that the nosewheel airplane is a stable platform, and you'll probably find that it's difficult to get it to turn around in soft dirt. Going with our left turning tendencies can help with this. Anyway, back to the takeoff roll. Notice how we start with full aft elevator and then gently reduce it as the nosewheel clears the ground. Then as soon as we make ground effect, we level momentarily to gain airspeed before climbing away. The key to getting the most performance out of this takeoff is actually in the nosewheel positioning on the roll. When we have the proper takeoff attitude, the nosewheel is just high enough that it clears debris, but isn't so high that we're generating unnecessary aerodynamic drag. An extremely common error is to over-rotate and pull the nosewheel so high that we hurt our visibility and we create a lot of drag that lengthens our takeoff roll. Here's an example of a takeoff with too high a pitch attitude. You'll notice a longer roll, and we actually get off the ground prematurely and settle for a second before obtaining flying speed again. Now let's check out a landing. The great thing is that almost all the principles that we learned in our spot landing videos still apply here. We still fly a spot landing attitude down to our aiming point, before reducing power and using what little energy we have left to flare. The big difference actually comes in how we modulate the brakes. We walk a fine line in a nosewheel airplane between too much brake causing the nosewheel to squat and the prop to get into the dirt, and not enough brake, which will cause, obviously, a long rollout. The best thing you can do to help with this is to keep that elevator locked full aft, and if you notice brake pressure is causing your nose to squat, release some as long as you can safely make your stop. If you can do so, it's actually best practice to not use any brake at all and let the drag of the grass slow you down. Now let's talk about a phase where you actually may be just as likely or more likely to damage one of these as on takeoff or landing. Believe it or not, taxi is one of the most critical phases of operation when you're operating a nosewheel on rough surfaces. This is partially because at this point your guard is probably down. It's also because your elevator has little to no authority to protect the prop and the nosewheel when you're moving at slow speeds or stopped. This is why it's critical to keep the elevator locked full aft while you taxi. We should also try not to stop on a soft surface if we can help it, because high power applications at slow speeds are the most likely scenario for you to suck gravel and other debris through your prop. Additionally, be very careful with the timing of brake application. If we get into the brakes at the wrong time, such as when we're going through a dip on the runway, it's possible that we could grab some prop. So don't let your guard down, and just like a tail dragger, fly it to the tie downs, if you will. All that being said, a 182 is an extremely capable little backcountry airplane. While you likely won't work any really short or really soft strips in it, you can carry a lot more weight and a lot more baggage than you can in a Husky or Cub, and you go a whole lot faster on the way to your destination. So don't let the fact that you only have access to 100 series Cessnas or similar keep you from exploring the backcountry. Get with an instructor and give it a try. Thanks for joining us today. Whether you're a pilot looking for backcountry training, an aircraft owner looking for information on Ozark strips to fly into, or potentially looking to charter a flight into the backcountry, check out flyoz.com for more info. In coming episodes, expect us to start delving into approach and departure techniques and some of the decision making that goes into picking a landing spot and deciding which way to get in and get out. We'll see you next time. Fly safe.